evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are tuning in from right around the world. Welcome to round 2 of the Speedcafe eSeries Championship from a virtual Road America, as you see below you. 40 of Australia's best and fastest sim racers here on iRacing have worked their way into tonight's running through pre-qualifying or by virtue of their results in round 1. And we've got ourselves an incredibly talented field of drivers. Ryan Jones here to take you through the action with Scott Rankin and Peter Davison alongside me. And Scott, round 1 certainly delivered the fireworks and the action. Round 2 at a track that is phenomenal for overtaking and racing. This is going to be a cracker.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different format as well to round number 1. You know, Bathurst, we all know it. We've seen the Bathurst 12 hour this year as well. So we sort of knew what to expect when we're going into Bathurst. Now, from my understanding, Road America, it really is a strong track, and a lot of the drivers were saying this as well, for the Porsche. Of course, the only driver we actually saw last time out in the Porsche was actually Josh Muggleton, who was our featured driver. Unfortunately, Josh was actually not able to make it here tonight. So, unfortunately, I don't actually think that there is any Porsches in the field, but we saw the front engine drivers, we saw the turbocharged cars really dominate Bathurst, a track that they all know very well. Not that they won't know Road America quite so well, but qualifying's kicked off, and I tell you what, it's going to be fast and furious here tonight. The return of 3-stage qualifying. I think we just saw Adam Willison as well hit the barriers down the back park of the circuit as well, Ryan. So action thick and heavy early.
Yep, kicking off straight away into qualifying here. It's not a 43-minute session, as you see on the timer here, just giving ourselves enough time to get through our 3 parts and plenty of early movement on the leaderboard. Christopher Ireland, currently fastest from Simon Mizomo. He's a guy that I'm expecting to see right up the front all throughout proceedings today as we watch one of the simrigs.com DPR cars heading down towards turn 4. That's Chris Ireland, the man currently fastest. So Peter Davison also with us in the booth tonight. Looking at strategy for tonight's race, you're going to have to make a pit stop. We've restricted the fuel tanks to, was it 49.8 litres, I believe? When are we going to be expecting drivers coming in when we get into the racing?
Good evening, Ryan. Good evening, Scott. Hi, everybody. Well, we do have a 47% fuel capacity in the tanks tonight, so that could be a 13 to 15 laps. At Bathurst, we saw some unusual strategies. We had a safety car early in the Mount Panorama circuit after an incident at the cutting, which we saw some people duck straight into the pits at the conclusion of the safety car. There's quite a lot of cars in there. As it's going to only be a short pit stop for fuel, there'll be no tyres, so it's going to be open. You may see people holding out till as long as possible in case we have a safety car. As we were discussing earlier, Road America's very high speed, lots of passing opportunities. We all know what that means, possible for incidents.
Exactly right. Incidents and incident points as well. If you run off the track here in qualifying on iRacing, you'll get an off track, and that invalidates your lap. And that's what's happened to Cameron Edwards here. He's on his 3rd lap now, but hasn't got a time on the board, and he hasn't got much time to get himself onto that leaderboard. Otherwise, he will have to start from the back of the field when this first group of qualifying is showing the checkered flag in just a few minutes' time. We're on board the visor cam with Edwards. What a fantastic shot this is as we rise through the undulating circuit that is Wisconsin's Road America. Now, this is my favorite part of the track, Scott. Long, sweeping right-hander under the Speedville Bridge. And this is really tricky to get right, especially in qualifying when you're trying to maximize it.
Yeah, it's all about trusting the tyres and trusting you've worked enough temperature in them. Remember, for the 3 sets of groups that come through qualifying tonight, only 10 minutes, and the tyres are really just starting to get enough heat into them to really put time down on the board. Bravery there through the kink as well. You come off of the sweeping right-hander that is the carousel into the kink, the run down the Canada corner, the run through Thunder Valley and onto the last corner as well. Really tricky through here. There's a couple of bumps. You just saw him just unsettle a little bit on the run down to Canada corner here. Keep it to the left. You're going to swing it out. You use all of that curb. He may have used a little bit too much there, picked himself up and off track. It's difficult. The track limits are so close around here as well. And there's a lot of grass. That curbing there on the last corner, totally fine. Really, really good line. He drives that a heck of a lot better than I've ever done. So great job from Cam Edwards, and he's even got enough time. He'll get the ability to start one more lap as well. So this won't be it from Cam Edwards. If he wants to keep going, there's another lap here.
That 2-minute 4.226. It's a long lap around Road America. It's 6.4 kilometers in length. Puts him 5th fastest out of 8 to set times. There's 12 out there, and he's grabbed the grass, and he just holds onto it. Big moment there for the Liquimoli BMW. Looking further back now, there's Henry Thomas Kircher, another driver who's not managed to get a time on the board yet for Mark 1 Esports. He'll be hoping to get it right through Canada Corner. Another BMW driver out there. Love this about GT3 racing, Scott, is the variety of incredible machinery we see out on the racetrack. A couple of BMWs and what we've seen so far, but there's Porsches, as you spoke about earlier. We've got, well, heaps. McLarens, Ferraris, Fords.
And a reminder to the viewers at home tonight, there's only going to be 4 of the GT3 cars that are actually on offer here. We're only going to get access to the BMW M4 GT3. Remember, this is a newer car. Prior to this, we've only had the BMW Z4. So that new front grille, not loved by everyone out there in existence, but still a favored car for a lot of people. Front engined, rear wheel drive. All the cars are going to be rear wheel drive. You've got the Audi. I don't think there's actually any Audis out on track at this point in time as well, but it's going to be mid-engine rear-wheel drive. You've got the Mercedes, big V8 engine. It's also front-engined and got that lovely growl to it, rear-wheel drive, as we're going to keep our eyes on. I think it's Jamie Knight coming to the line. And then you've also got the Ferrari as well. A little bit more of a mid-engine car. There's a lot of blow-off. You hear a lot of guys right in the limiter as they go right to shift gear in the Ferrari. You've got to extract the most power out of that car as well. That's the breadth of the cars that we got available. And you can't also not enjoy the Aston Martin GT4 safety car. I'm actually a big fan of the Aston Martin GT4 safety car. If I was racing a GT4, it would be the Aston Martin. Always be my preferred car. So
it's a good looking piece of kit, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I'm a little bit biased. I'd have to go if I was going to race out here tonight, I'd just get the safety car. I wouldn't race.
Race controls called it. This is qualifying 1 is now over. The boys will just be finishing off their lap.
I noticed that the man P2 on the timesheets, Adam Wilson, has got trouble for his Porsche. He's crabbing his way back around the circuit. He can't escape in this session. Got to make your way back to pit lane. So he's had an incident as he tried to find that last 10th of a second to climb over Christopher Ireland for provisional pole. There he is. It's not healthy, Scott.
I got a little bit of a sense he was actually drifting there for a few moments with that rear-on shot. But yeah, he's in a lot of strife. Look, to be perfectly honest, I'd probably just pull it aside, just wait for the qualifying session to be done, and at that point, you'll be allowed to be released back to the pit lane. Look, I mean, interesting start for things as well. Something that's actually interesting to note as Race Control's actually prepping our next round of cars. Seth's going to end up his qualifying efforts out in the barriers as well.
Big tank slap from Seth.
The critical thing here is we're going to see changes of cars. We're going to see 3 separate qualifying sessions. You're going to see I think it's the first 12 drivers that'll get out and get on track during this session. Then we're going to see 13, I believe it is, after that, and then finally the fast 15 as well. Very reminiscent of the Bathurst 12-hour qualifying session. So we're just prepping the track now. The first group is over. This is where they'll qualify. Time is in sim 8:40. AM at the moment, nearly 8:45 AM. So track will continue to grow in temperature as you get some more heat on the track.
And on the Super Cheap Auto replay, we just saw there and see again here what happened to Seth Brown for Pursuit Sim Racing, going through that infamous carousel we spoke about earlier. Just got a little tank slapper, as Peter Davison mentioned, and into the tyre barrier. And then I reckon he got stuck. He couldn't go anywhere. So that brought an early end to his session. He ends up 9th provisionally on the grid. But the drivers coming out now are those drivers that went just a little bit quicker in pre-qualifying. And then at the end, we will have our 10 fastest, or our 10 that were locked in from their results in round 1. Christopher Ireland on screen. A 2-minute 3.023, the time that they're all chasing. And for reference, that's just a tick over half a second slower than what our fastest pre-qualifying time was, a 2-minute 2.4 set by Wayne Hewitt. So just keep a note of those two numbers. We're about half a second off what we saw in pre-qualifying at the moment. Robbie Bradbury, he's in one of those Ferraris.
Just rolling rolling the second session out of the pit lane now.
Yeah, so from Chris Island, this is probably a really, really relevant statistic to probably lead the night off with. His pre-qualifying time is a 2:02.993. That put him 21st in the entering order. His practice this evening, which is what the qualifying orders are actually done off. It's not done off pre-qualifying. It's not set off on any of that. You jump in the server and effectively you practice your warm-up time. That is actually how you're setting yourself. And what groups you're going to be going out in as a part of qualifying. He was actually quite slow. He's about 9/10 of a second slower than his qualifying time, and just a lick under a second slower than his pre-qualifying time. He's within a 1/10 of a second, within 300ths of a second, realistically, of his pre-qualifying time. So that's really outright pace for Chris Island. That's what we're going to see, and that sets a really good benchmark for me.
Keep an eye on that then as the session plays out. Aaron Borg on screen, a name you're going to recognise. He's racing for Trent Tasman Racing, another team you're going to recognise. He is V8 Super U racer over in real life, won the championship, I do believe, last season. Knows his way around a race car or two.
And knows his way around a wiggly race car as well, something with a lot more body roll than a GT3 car. But that real-world experience, it's critical. His understanding of how to bring a tyre up to temperature, that's absolutely outstanding. Remember, we're on the GT3 tyre model here, ladies and gentlemen. So what does that mean? It means these tyres are going to take a few laps to actually bring them up to temperature, get the right temperature, get the pressure in. It's a new tyre model. It matches what they're actually dealing with in the real world, and you would have seen that as part of the actual Bathurst 12-hour qualifying. Their quickest times didn't come on lap 1. They came on lap 3, lap 4, after they'd had enough time to really pressurize these tyres. You can see the car that was directly ahead of him as well, really opting to try and pressurize, get everything optimized, set yourself up. This first lap, this is a banker, just get a lap in. It's not going to be a great lap. Everyone's aware of that. See cars still weaving as they're coming to take the green flag to start their qualifying lap. That says to you, these guys know this is not the money lap. This is not what we're after.
Lap 2. Everyone inside the top 4 set their fastest lap on the second lap in Q1. Mizomo in 5th got it done on lap 1. Might be why he's only 5th, the driver that we know can compete at the very front of the field. Atsushi got it done on lap 3. Something we haven't mentioned, and a big incentive for drivers tonight, thanks to Super Cheap Auto. We've got a $250 voucher to Super Cheap Auto for the winner of tonight's race. $100 voucher goes to second, and a $50 voucher goes to the third place finisher. So plenty of incentive to get the job done tonight. Need some little touch-ups done on your daily drive. Well, you might be able to find the money for it tonight.
Well, I was actually going to say, if he handed me a $250 voucher from winning an eSeries, the first thing I'd do is probably buy a giant big sticker that says "Eat my dust" and slap it on the back of the old race car. That'd be about the starting point, right?
Yeah, Mitchell McLeod might do that. Well known for self-proclaiming himself as the world's fastest sim racer in a very famous interview a few years ago. We'll never let him live that interview down. But he is indeed very talented, racing for himself out here tonight. We'll keep an eye on how the very experienced Mitch McLeod goes. As
We've had Oliver Paterson's off. He's looking for a tow. Trying to see where he is.
We did actually see that from Seth Brown's Ferrari as well, was the drive shaft, when he hit the wall quite hard, was the drive shaft actually failed on the rear end of his car. I think for Oliver, this actually might spell the end of his qualifying session. Race Control will probably release him back to towing, but that will be the end of his session, is my understanding of how it sits. And disappointing for Patterson. I mean, that was his first lap out as well. Tyres it up to temperature. We're seeing mistakes. So it's critical to not only get the tyres up to temperature, but it's also critical to look after the car on those opening laps. And I think this is going to set the tone for lap number 1. Something we haven't talked about yet is potential for safety car. Yeah, so just pushing a little too hard, got wide. That's quite easy to do.
A little wide on cold tyres out of turn 6, very easy to do.
Yeah, grab that dust and pretty much instant rotation from there. He is coming back out onto the racetrack though after turning back to pit lane. We'll keep an eye on how that one plays out. Jason Bentz for XCM. What can he produce as he comes across the line to complete a flying lap? Where does that move him? 17th overall, 1.4 seconds off the leading time at the moment, which is still Christopher Ireland.
That was Benzie's second lap.
Yeah, and I can tell you as well that's actually Benzie's first lap. So that's his first lap. So tyres would be just about up to pressure at the moment. The other thing is these tyres do go off as well. You can cook the tyres. So don't want to be too heavy on them. Want to get enough pressure into them so that you've got grip, but not too heavy on them so you don't cook them. And the other thing is that 24 degrees Celsius currently is the track temp. It's up from 23 degrees Celsius that it was during our first group. So you may actually see times fall off a little bit, and that might mix the field here, Ryan. That's spicy there, shall we say, for lap number 1.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on this one. Ben Holiday for Drop Bear Racing, firing it through the extremely fast kink at turn 11. And then hard on the brakes down here at Canada Corner. The Mercedes in real life, it's pretty dominant in GT3 racing in Australia. At the moment, it's 2 BMWs that lead the way on the timesheets as we look back at Holiday's virtual avatar. And the exit out of this final corner is critical, not just because it's a long run, but it's an uphill run to the start-finish line. So the more momentum you can carry, the absolute better your lap will be. So let's check this one across the line for Ben Holiday. It's his second flying lap. He crosses the line, does a 2-minute 4.162. It's only good enough for 14th place.
I think he's slotted himself. Yeah, I think there's still some shuffling going on. Basically, the bulk of that group at the moment here, Ryan, is actually crossing the start-finish line at the moment. There's 3 drivers left. One of them yet to set a time will cross the start-finish line and set that one now.
Jared Knight and Aaron Borg just moved up to 3rd and 4th in unison. Big laps from those two.
Jason Benth has moved up to 8th. Mitch McLeod's moved up to 9th. Rob Bowden was in the top 10. He's just been pushed out to 11. He was a 2:03.860.
Yeah, Bowden was quick at Bathurst as well in that Ferrari. I think he was looking for a little bit more than what he walked away with, and I think this might be setting himself up. I mean, he finished 6th. I think he deserved a top 5 last time out, but one of the guys that didn't have to run through quick pre-qualifying this week, you still know that meant that he would have put a lot more effort into practicing for the race. Qualifying wouldn't have been as big on his cards.
Now, when it is a track that you can overtake, if you don't get it completely right in qualifying, it's not going to ruin your night like it would on another track on the calendar. Say we go to somewhere like Montreal or Spa. Long tracks, but not necessarily the easiest places to get it done unless you've got a very slippery car in a straight line.
Round 7 will be at Montreal at Villeneuve on June 23rd, and then we'll be at Spa for round 10, which is August 4th. So that's something we can look forward to in the future.
Well, drivers will be thinking about that the whole way through too.
So Ben Holiday again coming to the line. Is this one going to be any better for the Drop Bear Motorsport man? Crosses the stripe, 2-minute 3.9. That'll move him up a couple of spots, all the way up to 12th. So a big improvement in just that 0.2 of a second. That's how tight the field is. Marlon McMullen, what can he produce? Goes up to 11th. Displaces Holiday back down a spot.
Top 17 are within 1 second of each other.
Oh, Oliver Patterson recovered from his mistake earlier on. Was that a flying lap? It was. 22nd place for him. 1.5 seconds back.
Critically, I think there's just enough time for him to get this next lap in as well. So he will get a lap with warmed up tyres. He will get the opportunity to improve. But I think the guys that went out first have definitely had the advantage. At the moment, the track temp's just dipped a little bit. I think we've had some cloud cover come back over. So we're back to optimal. Oh, that's a crawling Ferrari. That's not a pretty machine at this point in time.
Hang for Vermilion Motorsports. He's found the fence somewhere. I'm not going to guess where because there are 14 possible places on this track where he could have made a mistake, but he's pressing on. He's not given up. He's not coming to pit lane. He's pressed on with this lap. I wonder if this damage came on the previous lap or on this lap. Whether this time counts will probably tell us. Doesn't count, so went wrong on that lap for him. And I don't think he'll have enough time. Subachi Porto replay. This will tell us the story. So it actually was the previous lap, Scott. But he must have made a mistake on the lap we caught him on as well. Just got loose out of Canada corner, found that tyre barrier.
Yeah, and I think the issue that he's stuck with is he's got two bad decisions in front of him. And I think the lesser of two evils was just to continue on and at least get a time on the board and see what he does from there. The problem is if he went back to pit lane, he got himself a fresh car. I just don't think he would have had the ability to get another lap in. So it's not the best. It's not a great option all around. But hey, look, there's a time on the board. Rob Bowden in the meantime.
And race control's just called the checkered flag, so people will be finishing their laps off. There won't be any more laps started. We saw quite a few cars actually on their out laps. Borgie, Mr. Bailey, Jason Bentz, and Rob Bowden was back out with a fresh car, but they're not going to be able to get an opportunity to use those. And we're going to have to come into the pits. We're going to have the final drivers out for the fast session, another fast session.
Well, this is fascinating because with 24 drivers setting times, it's currently the driver that was outside the top 20 that is fastest, top 20 in practice, that is fastest here in qualifying. Can the pace setters from our practice session disrupt the fairy tale story here for Ireland? Lachlan Capel, he'll fancy his chances. Damon Woods, winner in round 1. Matthew Dent, Luke Mitchison. They're our top 3 from round 1. Can they put themselves in a good spot again tonight?
What's that a little bit reminiscent of at the end of pit lane? I think I've seen that before. Does that look a little bit like Sydney, shall we say? Or I mean, we're in Wisconsin. What's the capital of Wisconsin? Is this peak hour at downtown capital Wisconsin?
Certainly looks like it. This is a battle for track position. Dirty air is not as big a talking point in tin top cars, but it exists. You want clean air, and also just for your mind, just to be able to see a clean track in front of you and not have to worry about if that car in front's going to make a little mistake. Throw dirt on the track, spin, get in your way, just be slow and hold you up. Having clean track in front of you is massive, and that's why they're all queuing up at the end of pit lane, and we'll probably see a few overtakes happening on this outlap. First 2 outlaps, really, because as we've seen, most of the fast times coming on 2nd, 3rd, even 4th laps out there. Only a handful getting it done on the very first lap. Riley Bilson for 9.5 Sim Sport. BMW in front, and a Lamborghini behind. Do like me a Lamborghini. Who was that in the Huracan? There's another one just there behind Sebastian Flock for Evolution Racing Team. That's Ben Faulkner for Vermilion Motorsports. Yeah,
and Lamborghini, sorry, I did actually say earlier on in the piece it was the Audi that was in this series. It's not, it's actually the Lamborghini. So that's commentator's error on that one. But for the drivers that, or the people actually that are watching along at home, there's a lot of crossovers between the iRacing cars. Remember, these are modeled off of the cars in the real world as well. So a few different systems that you'll actually see them use. And number one of those is actually the number on the window banner. Whilst we're in the qualifying session, that's actually a live updated time. If you've actually seen the signage board on the front end of the car, currently it's displaying a 0. That's because these drivers yet to set a time. So if you keep an eye on, you're not 100% sure, and you're just sort of seeing your driver somewhere out in the field. They're out there, they're setting their laps at this point in time, or you see a flash of where they are on the screen, the front end of things. That will give you a live update from the last time they cross the start-finish line. So that's actually really, really important. Talking about track position, Damon Woods going for track position right there.
Well, I see we've got Riley Bilson's actually spun it at turn 1, so that's in a fairly ordinary track position. I'm not sure what's going to be the strategy here. Are you going to look for a tow and try and get a fast lap time in, or are you going to try and do it solo?
We've got some long straights here at Road America. The tow can be a benefit, not as much as it could be at a place like Monza, because you've still got 14 corners to navigate, but certainly something to think about. If there's a couple team cars out there who know that they're not going to trip over each other, it could very well be worth trying to coordinate a little bit of a slipstream. As we see Thomas Hinds here, Henry James Racing, he is extremely experienced, about as knowledgeable as they come when it comes to sim racing as Hinsey, and look out for him to show his might right up the front in that Mercedes AMG GT3 tonight.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point I think Pete just made about the dirty air as well and setting yourself up. There is actually some opportunities to make some ground. But the one thing for me, and is really, really critical here, is if you see drivers like Matthew Dench, they're trying to spread their wings. They don't want to be offering a toe. That says to me, hey, look, there's probably enough of an effect here. But he's also at the same time trying to back these guys up. He's not trying to go bananas. He's not going gangbusters early on. That says dirty air is enough of a factor that I'd want to be setting myself out on my own. The other benefit of running out and on your own, you don't have to look at another car. You're not missing apexes. You're not going to get checked up when somebody makes a mistake. So there's a few different mind games. And when drivers are pushing the limits like they are right now, when they get right into the thick of this qualifying effort, I think I just want that clear air in front of me.
And there's been some jostling, and everyone looks like they're sorting themselves out now, and they are spread out as we come across the start-finish straight, as everyone wants to start their first lap. And here we go, Aaron Cooper, who's coming into turn 1 in his BMW.
He just passed Matthew Dench down the front straight. Dench, no interest in putting a representative lap on the board on his first lap here. And he probably knows what he's doing based off his performance in round 1 and his pace in practice. He was second fastest behind Damon Woods in practice prior to qualifying. So keep an eye on Dench to see how this strategy works out. He's taking it very easy on this formation lap. But we continue to watch Aaron Cooper as we look back to Bilson. What have you spied, Scott?
Well, just that Dench burst out of the pit lane early, he's actually letting a lot of cars go. He's just let about 4 cars go. So he's gone from leading this whole pack to now he's right in the thick of it. The problem I have with this strategy, so Dench, I know Matt Dench quite well. He would have done a lot of work into getting these tyres in a really, really competitive window, and he races a lot of GT3 cars, so he knows exactly what the optimum window for the tyre pressures is. The Ferraris, all the GT3 cars have a tyre pressure readout on the dash. See that on the left-hand side there? Doesn't populate within the iRacing service whenever you're watching from inside the simulation, but those numbers on the left-hand side, the 0.00s, those are all tyre pressures. For him, they'll all be live. So he will have an active readout of where his tyre pressures are. He has a number that he's setting himself up to.
And we can all appreciate that apart from having the right tyre pressure at the right time to get the right lap in, you've got to have brought them up to speed and not have punished them too much in that opening couple of laps. So if you can, I guess, cruise around and put yourself in a good position, lap 2 will be good.
Riley Bilson requesting permission to tow back to pit lane. So the drama he's had only getting worse. And Riley Bilson, 7th in round 1, sorry there, is going to be on the back foot here for the championship if he can't get a good qualifying run together, because he's going to be buried at the back of a 40-odd car field as the first few times coming up on our boards now. None of them particularly lining up the timing screens because it is their first flying lap, Scott.
Yeah, so Bilson was requesting it so because his session is actually done. Race Control issued him a infringement, which basically effectively means his qualifying session is done. So he won't set a start time on the grid. He will start from the back end. But Cody Deeth in the last round did start from the very rear of the grid. He nearly put himself inside the top 10 right before chaos struck with, what was it, as we were coming to the white flag, as we were coming 1 lap to go, he went off coming out of the chase. So, and he still managed to make it through inside the top 10. That says to me, opportunity lurks. You've just got to prepare yourself from Bilson. And we'll probably talk about the mentality of that throughout the night. But have a look at the purple sector from Yusuf.
Yeah, he was 3rd fastest in practice. He went 0.3 faster than his pre-qualifying time already tonight, and I reckon he's eyeing off the opportunity to go even quicker than that as he's going to come through the kink. How committed is he? It is flat chat for the Ferrari, almost out sideways, but keeps it straight using all of the road. Perfect line for Yusuf. Now down onto the brakes into Canada corner. If he can finish this off, this will be an extremely competitive lap time, and it might put him into provisional pole for Pursuit Sim Racing. Oh, little wiggle there as he came out of turn 13. That's going to cost him a little bit, but immediately setting himself up for the run out of turn 14. All of the track again. Another long run up the hill to the line. What's it going to be for Yusuf as Flock ahead of him goes to 6th, Faulkner to 3rd. Yusuf goes 2nd, misses out by 0.5. How close is it?
I tell you what, as well, have a look at where Faulkner's landed himself. He's 1/100th of a second off of P3 as that now becomes P4, so he will slip back to 5th. And Luke Mitchinson, he's dropped himself into P3 as well. There's nothing at the top end of this one, Ryan. I think this is only going to get better.
Dench.
And here goes Dench!
Dench clears him by 6/10. Woods gets within 2/10.
Done.
Those two have put a huge marker down on the field. Matthew Dench a 2:02.456. Damon Woods second with a 2:02.6. And then Ireland in third, still hanging on from his Q1 effort. What can Wayne Hewitt produce? He was fastest in pre-qualifying. Goes to third. 2:03.003. For a minute there, we had 5 cars covered by less than a tenth at the top. But Dench and Woods and now Hewitt have blown that wide open.
Yeah, well, now that marker goes from third all the way down to, gee, wow. No, actually, it's a little bit further back than that. It's basically from Andre Youssef down to Ben Faulkner, covered by effectively a 10th. Man, there's nothing in it up at the pointy end of this thing. And then you have a look at the times right throughout the midfield. If you have a look from 10th, which is Zach Rattray White, 2:03.203, 2:03.273 for Lachlan Capel, Flock 2:03.293, Borg 2:03.337, 356 for McLeod, 377 for Matt Bailey. That battle and that pack in particular is going to be insane because there's nothing in those guys in terms of peak pace. I actually have a feeling it may come down to looking after your tyres enough tonight, just leaving enough on the table in the dying stages to set that one up.
I'm still watching Youssef as we see Rattray White on screen. Youssef's given up. He's gone to pit lane. So what can Rattray White do? He just put himself up into 10th place at 2:03.203. He's only 2/10 off P3, but he's 10th. It's so close. He's coming through the kink now. It was flat in the Ferrari for Youssef, and it's flat in the Lamborghini. Maybe a little confidence lift there for Rattray White. And as the tyres start to wear, might not be so easily flat laid on in the race. That could be, well, it probably will be one of the big trouble spots tonight. It so often is in real life and in the sim, Scott.
Yeah, the kink. Look, lap 1 through the kink. We haven't actually seen anyone off there. It's actually been over at Carousel where we've seen the guys off in qualifying.
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether or not that's just them pushing for lap time during qualifying, and that's what's triggered that. But the kink is actually where I expect the biggest dramas to be for the entire field here tonight. So lap 1, turn 1, turn 3, turn 5, and the kink. Oh, hello.
Damon Wood's fastest, but he is stopped on the track here just before pit exit.
Well, these guys are running minimal fuel to get these lap times in. Do you think you could be out of fuel?
I reckon that's a really good shout, Peter. And he's requesting a tow, so I reckon you're right. No damage on that car that I could see as the checker flag comes out. Thomas Hinds, what's he got left in the bag? He's currently down in 19th place. He will want to be better than that, and he's going to stay there. Looks like an invalidated lap time for him. Found an off-track somewhere around the 6.4 kilometre Road America circuit. Anyone else lighting up the timing screens out there, boys?
I mean, at the moment we're running out of cars to really talk about. I think they've just called time on the session as well. So it's basically going to be the laps that were on 11th place is Sebastian Flock at the moment. He's coming to the line. Oh, he's going to cancel that lap and come to pit lane. Ben Faulkner's another one. There's another car off of the track. Was that Serrano as well? Was that turn 1 to turn 3? Yes, it is. So that's where he's come unstuck. So it's trouble. It's pushing hard. It's trying to put yourself in the right spots all the time. And there's a couple guys that have got it really, really right. Remember what I talked about Dench and Woods bringing their tyres in to the critical marker. That's why they're so far out ahead of the field. They haven't taken too much out of their tyres. I think there's still pace in Matthew Dench's car, but I think he's done in terms of his qualifying efforts. I think he's satisfied with P2. I think this is just a cool-down lap.
And we saw them do this 2 weeks ago at Bathurst in round 1-2. They left it till the last minute. The track's up to 25 degrees, so it's come up about 4 degrees from where we started earlier today. And we thought maybe the track won't be there for the tyres, but they just managed their tyres and they did a couple of special laps, and here we are again replicating it again today.
Damon Woods pulled one out of the bag on his third lap. He was second after the second flyers for him and Dench, but then on his third lap, he jumped Dench, went to provisional pole, and I don't think Dench has got a response here. I don't know if Youssef's got a response. No, he doesn't. No lap time for him. When Dench comes to pit road, I reckon, I don't want to call it early, I reckon Damon Woods has set himself up for pole position here.
Yeah, and I think that's just about done. I just don't see anyone else that's actually out there and pushing on. So the only car that failed to set a time is actually Timothy Russell in the HTS racing car. And he's come across and managed to slot that one into 20th. So still there, still valid, still in with a shout, but I think he's at the point whereby he should have put a valid lap time. He did 4 laps during the qualifying session, so there was time on the table there for Timothy Russell, but he only set 1 valid lap time. And I think the thing is, you maybe need to set a banker, and we might even see that in the in next week's, in a fortnight's time at the island. We might actually see a few drivers opting to take a banker rather than have a whole bunch of push laps. So a little bit of a change in the strategy. Didn't work out from Timothy Russell here tonight.
Just curiously, we've got a little warm-up before our race begins, but as it stands, Christopher Ireland, 4th on the grid, not currently still in the server. Oh, he's just joined back. That's the anti-commentator's curse right there.
I was actually just thinking, I think that's on him. I think he's just trying to reset the sim, make sure that everything's in its optimal state. Can't have yourself having hardware issues late on in the piece. That just wouldn't do. So he's making sure that he's covering himself off, giving himself every opportunity to sort everything out pre-race.
There's 2 drivers failed to set times in qualifying. Riley Bilson, who we saw cop the infringement, and Ash Davis. So 37 times, 39 cars. Bilson is going to have his work cut out for him if he wants to make it 2 top 10s in a row, as we are about to head to warm up. The Speedcafe eSeries Championship, not at all possible without the amazing supporters of Speedcafe, the #1 independent motorsport news website. Massive thank you to Truck Assist, Morris Finance, Pertec, RJ Batteries, Mobile One, Michelin Tire Plus, Super Cheap Auto, King Chrome, KTM, Maguire's Optus, and Lloyd's Classic Car Auction. Some fantastic brands in there, Scott. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's such as the prestige of the series as well. It's the only real big dip into sim sports in Australia was really the V8 supercars. We didn't see much else coming in terms of the way early on during the COVID period. So it's been awesome to see the Speedcafe eSeries come on board, and I've had the opportunity to chat to a few people that are actually part of the Speedcafe organization since then, and the support they've actually given us and the comments and criticisms that came out of round #1 was just phenomenal. Like it was on during the Formula One, actually same weekend as the Formula One down in Melbourne, and there was apparently quite a few people sitting down at the Australian Grand Prix, Formula One stars included, actually watching on the broadcast. So that was quite a high coming off of from the last round. But look, I mean, those are the qualifying results that are on the screen now, and
look at the gap.
Yeah, there's nothing in it, man. Like it's have a look at that midfield. So look, the leaders are probably going to disappear. I don't know whether or not that's actually true. I don't think that's necessarily true race pace, because those tires are actually going to fade away after that sort of third running lap. The pace does fall out of the tire quite a bit on the new tire that we've seen, the Pirelli, the new GT3 compound that we've seen right the world over. So it's not necessarily going to be peak pace. I'm wondering whether or not that does squish the field a bit together. Remember, you had Chris Island going very, very hard for a number of laps in there, and he was in 4th place. So I actually think that front end of the field is going to condense, and the pack's actually going to stay a little bit more together than that. But I'd still want track position. I want to be in Damon Woods' shoes when we go to lap 1. Whoa!
Yeah, we're going to see plenty of that tonight, I suspect. Take the top 2 out, and the next 24 cars are covered by a second. That is madness. Peter, if you're back there in that huge, surely going to be congested group of cars, what are you looking to do strategy-wise to get out of it?
Well, that's going to be the big thing, isn't it? We're going to see the drivers all just settle in for the first few laps, get some heat into their tyres, save a little bit of fuel. How much time will you be able to save if you're saving fuel when you're coming for your pit stop? It's only going to take a tenth or two to pull yourself out in front of the car in front. We know this is a high-speed track with plenty of slipstreaming, and we know in these GT3 cars around these sort of circuits, you can save plenty of fuel when you're behind another car. So when you've got a pack of 39 cars, there's plenty of fuel to be saved. Chance of a safety car early, chance of a safety car late. Do you wait?
I think if the safety car is going to come, it's going to be early. The problem is with the pit window being smack bang in the middle of the race. I was just doing the math on the time. We're actually expecting the pit window maximum time distance to really get to about 25 minutes. That leaves us 20 minutes on the final stint. That gives us about a 5-minute leeway, which is effectively 2 to 3 laps. In terms of where that pit window opens. So we're looking about lap 12, lap 13, so lap 10. Anytime from lap 10 onwards, over the next 3 laps, you're going to see everyone pit. I'd have a crack at an undercut, if I'm going to be honest with you, because I just want to... You cannot do whatever the car in front of you is doing. With how condensed the field is, you just cannot do whatever the car in front of you does. So I think there's going to be a lot of posturing around pit lane entry here tonight. I think that's got disaster written all over it unless these guys have really put the effort in and braking and entering pit lane right behind each other. Is pit lane where you gain your time? Well, who knows?
Yes.
We'll find out about 45 minutes, won't we?
So often it is. Oh, big slide out of the gate. Didn't catch who that was. Just setting up some storylines for this one. So P1, P2, Damon Woods, Matthew Dench. They've picked up exactly where they left off in round 1, first and second. But then the man P3 on the grid, Wayne Hewitt, he was 38th last round. Christopher Ireland will start 4th. He was 21st. And Andre Youssef, who will start 5th, he didn't race. How's the contrasting fortunes to the top 5 coming into this race?
I mean, that's critical, isn't it? If you're looking to set yourself up for a championship and you're looking at the back end of things, it's going to be about consistency. I get the feeling that there's probably a few of these drivers as well. They will have to miss rounds. They'll have real-world commitments. They might even have real-world racing going on as well. You know, there might have been a few guys away at the Australian Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. Not so. They're available here tonight. And is Wayne Hewitt among those? Well, who knows? I mean, he could be the biggest tail at the back end of everything. Has he got the pace that he just didn't have at Bathurst? The Lamborghini was not suited to Bathurst is the critical thing. The other thing of note is that we actually have a balance of performance, I believe, that's actually been applied as well. And the Mercedes and the BMW were actually the biggest hit. Was I think it was about 1.5% in terms of engine power reduction coming out of those two cars. Porsche not hit with anything whatsoever, and the Lamborghini was sort of sitting a little bit higher off than those cars as well. So interesting adjustments. Who's got the goods? Who are you banking on, Ryan?
I never make those statements because we all know how the commentator's curse works. Let's run you through the grid then. So Damon Woods and Matthew Dench will share the front row. Wayne Hewitt, Chris Ireland looking for fight back races from row 2. Andre Youssef, Luke Murchison out of row 3. Adam Willison for simrigs.com DPR, and Ben Faulkner 7th and 8th. TS Racing's Jared Knight shares the 5th row of the grid with Zach Rattray-White. Sebastian Flock just misses out in the top 10 alongside his good mate Lachlan Capel. Peter, next 12th.
Yeah, Aaron M. Borg and Mitch McLeod are going to take off of 13th and 14th. Matt Bailey and Aaron Cooper off of ahead of them is Jesse Butler and Teo Sorono. Thomas Hins and Timothy Russell rounding out the top 20 before we get back to Russ Green and Jason Bent. Simon Mazzomo, long way down in the pack from Mazzomo. And Marion McCullum round out your top 24.
I'll let the rest of the grid roll through here. Bowden, Holiday, Beaumont, Kotomos, Atsushi, and a whole lot more eager drivers. Some very fast guys buried down the back here. It's a very short formation coming to the line, but it is a long run down to turn number 1. When will Woods choose to hit the throttle? He's got the inside line. He's got the preferred line.
Ooh.
They're pretty strung out down the back of the field, but they're nice and bunched up the front. Woods on the inside.
Whoa!
Dench on the outside. Trouble in the background. Green flag flies. Woods gets the good jump. Dench immediately jumps in behind him to get some of that slipstream. And it looks like Christopher Ireland is going to win out in the battle between the second row into P3. He goes clean for the top 5. Hold your breath. Oh, there they go. Mitch McLeod off the road.
Multiple cars off the road. It's not just Mitch McLeod. Is that the DPR car that's down in there alongside of him as well? There was another Mercedes, and there's a BMW on the inside here, Ryan.
Oh, lots of trouble, lots of drama, almost to be expected. That was Rob Bowden. Untroubled. Damon Woods leads down towards turn number 5, second big braking zone. After we went through the first corner, and he's well clear of Dench. From Ireland in third, then Hewitt, Mitchison, and Yusuf making a move on Ben Faulkner, who he'd momentarily gone behind, and Willison forcing his way up the inside. That was aggressive on cold tyres, and now going backwards again. Faulkner was out in the grass. He's going backwards quickly, but I think he's just gathered it up now.
Yeah, we've got to keep our eyes a little bit further down the pack as well. Somebody from 22nd was Mazomo, was one of the cars I thought was... No, it wasn't actually Mazomo. Sorry, my apologies. It's right down at the back end of the field. I get the feeling that there's going to be a whole host of cars that are caught up in these lap 1 incidents, so...
Well, we'll keep an eye on that.
Aaron Borg was involved.
Yep.
That's a shame. He started out at 13th. Big damage for Mitch McLeod. We saw him fire into the tyre bundle. Oh, I'll be surprised if he gets that one back to pit lane.
I can tell you, Mitch McLeod at this point in time, missing that rear wing. That thing is destroyed.
Remember, we do have one quick repair in this series for each race, so you get one fast repair.
Spare car, if you will. It'd be nice if they could have that in the GT3s out in the real world, but I doubt that'd be pretty expensive. That might be expensive in terms of championship points. That was Chris Ireland spinning out of 3rd position. What a start he had, and he's just thrown it all away. I would hazard a guess just a little too wide on the exit. The Super Cheap Auto replay is going to tell us the story coming out of turn 14 as he grabs the dust and the grass on the outside of the curb. No, just a tank slapper, and that's what fed him into the grass, and around he went.
Man, he's done a phenomenal job just to keep that out of the barriers. Look how close he got over on the inside of the track is the key there on the Super Cheap Auto replay. Cold tyres, big tank slapper. They're still not up to temperature, and sometimes you just push that little bit too hard, that little bit too early, and he's one of those.
We were discussing whether they were going to be a little bit processional or push hard on the opening laps, and they're certainly pushing hard.
The sim race. Have you ever seen a bunch of sim races take it easy on lap 1? That'll be the day. And already, as predicted, they're starting to stretch. Woods and Dench are locked in step, and then it's a bit of daylight back to 3rd place Hewitt and Mitchison, and then further back to this little battle we're watching now. Yusuf splits the gap there, and then it's Faulkner, Willison, Knight, Capel, and Sebastian Flock, your top 10. Some big movers on lap 1. Kenny Konomos up 7, so too Stephen Bartholomew.
Fitzroy Beaumont as well was up 7 on the opening lap. That's a phenomenal drive. Actually, Atsushi, another driver that was up 7 on the opening lap. Bartholomew, there's a number of drivers, big gainers on lap number 1. Cam Edwards as well, another driver up 7. I think Oliver Patterson up 8 is actually the big winner tonight.
Oh, that camera shot makes me wince how close they're getting to the grass on the outside, because I know once you touch it, you're going around. You can't save it. But they are pushing these cars to the limits. Looking back from Kenny Konomos, under pressure from Fitzroy Beaumont. And I reckon Konomos got by him because he started the slap behind him. But Beaumont not letting him go too easily. Mistake from the car in front there. That was Marlon McMullen. He's not got a very good run onto the main straight. And in fact, this is going to close up very quickly into turn 1. Ross Green might get swamped. McMullen looks to the inside. Konomos wants to follow. McMullen late on the brakes up the inside. Konomos does follow and almost gives a little hip check to Green. Good job not to make contact there. But Green's lost 1, 2, 3 spots. It could be 4 spots here as Bartholomew buys in on the fight. Can't get it done. Green stems the flow at just 3 spots lost.
Remember Riley Bilson that we talked about didn't set a qualifying lap, gridded up in 38th position, 12 spots gained. 12 spots gained. Can you believe it?
We're on mid-lap 3.
Keep this up, he'll win by a mile. There he is, Bilson for 9.5 Sim Sport, up to 26, and just in front of him, we saw a move there from Aaron Borg getting up the inside of Cameron Edwards. So a couple of drivers here, Borg and Bilson might be able to work together a little bit to move forward, because they're both much quicker than where they're sitting in the field right now.
Yeah, so opportunities are gonna come their way. The other thing they've got to remember, we talked about a few times earlier on, tire wear. Road America is actually a high tire degradation track, and with this new tire model in the GT3 car, there is opportunity to wear the tire out over the course of a stint. We're not running that full hour stint GT3 cars are known for within the iRacing platform. Normally they can run a fair bit longer than that in real life spec, but that's with the fuel maps obviously turned down to a race mode as well. So a lot of bobbling down here at Canada Corner.
Yeah, that was wide on board with Jesse Butler. He just saw Aaron Cooper run a little bit wide off the road in front of him, costing a spot to Thomas Hins, who moves himself up to 12th position. He's up 7 now. Plus 7 seems to be a popular number in this race early on.
There's another driver that's come to the attention of the pit crew on the most recent lap as well. I think that was actually Jason Bentz. So I think something's gone wrong for Jason Bentz. He's had to come down and grab himself a pass repair.
And while that may put you on the back foot early on in this race, if we do get a safety car, you're going to be able to close back up to the rear of the field and then try to scythe your way through the opposition. So all hope not lost for any of the drivers who've had early drama, except perhaps for Mitchell McLeod and Matt Bailey, who I believe have retired, along with Jamie McKnight, who's retired as well. Didn't even make the start, I don't think.
One thing we've also got to remember is that there's a 20 incident point limit initially for this race. So if you go over your 20 incident points, you're going to do a tour through pit lane, and then every 10 incident points after that. So a few people here will be watching their incident points after that lap one incident for turn 1.
Pressure's on here for the final spot on the podium, and if they make it to the checkered flag in this order, $50. A $50 voucher to Super Cheap Auto. $250 goes to the winner, $100 to second, and $50 to third place. Hewitt holding that spot at the moment after locking himself in by going fastest in pre-qualifying and then putting himself third on the grid. But Mitchison looks very fast. He's just got to be careful though. If he goes for a move and doesn't get it done, the rest of Oscar's going to come under attack from Andre Yusuf behind, and potentially even Ben Faulkner as well. Nice little 4-car battle forming for the podium place. Best of the rest, we'll call it, behind Woods and Dent.
Oh, very, very wide. That's going to give that spot up for sure for Mitchison. So just pushing really hard to try and stay lockstep in with Wayne Hewitt in the McLaren ahead of him. I'm actually just looking at the rear bumper of Andre Yusuf's car. The left-hand side of the rear quarter panel, I guess you'd say, in behind that wheel, it looks not quite 100%. So there was contact on lap 1 with that car, and I'm wondering whether or not he's suffering a little bit. We might see it on the tyres as the race progresses.
Yeah, it's got big damage at that passenger rear or driver's rear in this car, sorry, excuse me.
Just punched it. It looks like somebody's just thought he was going to brake a fair bit later. Cold tyres lap 1, it's tough to read where everyone's braking zones are.
Is Mitchison close enough for a dive? No, he's not quite that ambitious, as Cable makes a move behind them on Adam Willison. That looked pretty easy going there for Cable. Moves himself up into 7th position, and he's got a little pack forming behind him. Super Cheap Auto replay. Solid graphic there. Just late on the brakes, battle of the late breakers. The drop there, motorsport car with the Evolution Racing Team colours, who's up the spot.
Yeah, good move from Cable as well. The critical thing I noticed about that move was he moved to the centre of the road off the exit of turn 5, up underneath the Chevy bridge. Just wanted to cover things.
Nice little 4-wheel slide there from Cable, but look at the pressure that's put him under heading into the King. Luckily for him, he can't overtake there, but he might be under pressure down here at Canada Corner. In fact, no, it's going to be Flock on the attack because Willison had to check up. That cost him momentum. Flock looking to the outside at Canada Corner. Can he go the long way around? No, he can't. And he might lose a spot now from momentum. Lots that he does. Through goes Knight.
I did want another look at this through Cable. Look at him on the horses early, revving that V8 Mercedes all the way up. Look at the checkup he caused in that pack, and that's nearly what triggered the overtake down at Canada Corner, because you've had to lift in the straight, and you've had to lift very, very early. You suffer that momentum loss the whole way down. So the other thing is, Capel can't do that probably more than once more throughout the race, or he's going to scorch those rear tyres. He'll struggle for the remainder of the race. That's a big talking point now, and something that everyone behind him will be aware of.
That's exactly right. As we hit lap 6 now, just looking at lap times, Damon Woods at 2:03.1. Matthew Dench was a 10th quicker in second place, and then it's a second slower for our car in third place, Wayne Stewart. But crucially, that number for Woods and Dench, it's about 7-8 tenths off what they did in qualifying. Early signs of tyre wear or just a high fuel load, Peter?
Well, we haven't seen them run with this amount of fuel in them yet, in qualifying or in practice, obviously. I've got my eyes peeled on the pits, because in the next couple of laps is when the pit window will open, and we may see some of these cars who have picked up a little bit of damage coming in for that undercut. Obviously, if you can get your car fixed up and the opportunity to undercut if there's a safety car as well. It's very close here on the track at the moment with Mezzamo and Russell.
Yeah, I think Mezzomo's made a mistake. He started this lap ahead of Serrano, who's now ahead of him, and Russell was all over the back of him behind. That's a late move. Cooper up the inside. Oh, they thought about 3 wide. Jesse Butler with nowhere to go.
Well, he's got to hang on to it through the carousel.
Outside of the carousel, hangs on. That was a little dicey. Carousel and the King, 2 corners I really don't want to go side by side on here at Road America.
And we're starting to see...
Sorry, Pete. Go ahead, mate.
No, we're starting to see all these little battle packs. Everyone's getting a bit of slipstream. People are looking after their tyres a little bit, maybe a little bit of fuel, maybe pushing and just getting a little loose. But there's battle packs up and down the whole field at the moment.
This is fantastic stuff. Speedcafe eSeries Championship, turning it on. 40 drivers out there putting on a show.
And looking a little hungry here.
Look at what be in Roddy Bilson's helmet at the moment. I reckon he's just a little bit angry with the way that the qualifying ran. Remember, we said that we're actually going to talk about the psychology of coming from the rear trip. We saw Cody Dees do it 2 weeks ago. We saw how aggressive he had to be. He had to put the car in some choice locations around the mountain. Road America's got a lot more overtaking opportunities than necessarily are on offer at Bathurst, or wise overtaking opportunities that are on offer at Bathurst. But at the same time, psychology. You've got to reset yourself in qualifying. You've got to let it go. Letting a mistake go is one of the hardest things as a race driver that you can do, because you put extra wear on the tyres, you put extra heat into them, and that can lead to multiple more mistakes.
Jared Knight under pressure up the inside goes Mitchison, and oh no, Knight gets turned, but he saves it. Thomas Hinds got into him as Knight checked up to let the overtaking Rattray White go through.
Well, it's Constantina to come out 8 cars behind them.
Yeah, it's caused an almighty group of cars. Look at this. Up the inside goes Rattray White.
I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, Knight just slid up a little bit too much, and nothing really Hindsy could do. But check out the train that it's caused.
Well, the good news if you're Rattray, right, it's provided he got the move done, and now he's just about all clear. I've just been riding on board as well with Matthew Dench, is following in behind Damon Woods. I can't hear any fuel saving, but what I can see out of both of these drivers is that they are struggling through the King. The thing wants to swap on them. Look how much of the road they're using at every single corner. Tyre wear will be a factor, boys.
And this is the first race we would have had since the balance of performance has been adjusted in iRacing.
I don't recall if there actually was a balance of performance. I've actually just gone ahead and had a chat. I wanted to check out what the statistics were on the balance of performance that were applied to the server. It was wrong. I was reading it wrong. There was no balance of performance. So all the cars as even as they were prior to the Bathurst round.
Wayne Stewart was under pressure, but he is now cleared out in third place. Got himself a gap of about a second or so. As we see side by side here, this is Thomas Hinds on the outside. They're banging doors down the straight into turn 1. Knight on the inside. These two have already made contact in the last couple of minutes. Knight fends off Thomas Hinds, who now has to fend off Sebastian Flock. Exit here is going to be crucial, because down at turn 5 is an overtaking opportunity if you get a good run out of here. They're all pretty even with that little Mistake from Hinds, ran quite wide. Now he's getting the benefit of the slipstream, Scott. Check this out. This will be a move down into turn 5, but Knight covers.
Yeah, I think this is the right decision from Jared Knight. He is the cork in the bottle at the head of this train at the moment, but he looks to me to be the faster car. It's whether or not Hinsey can set this up properly on the outside. This is risky. This is big risk.
And Sebastian Flock, experienced driver, knows not to poke his nose in there where it doesn't belong. And they all get out the other side. Still, Hinds can't get by Jared Knight. There's a battle now that goes down to 19th place.
Yeah, I think this one is going to continue to grow and grow. There's another 4 cars from 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, all just about to buy themselves into that. Chris Island's among that group. Remember the mistake he made early on, coming off of the final corner at the end of lap number 1, starting to rebuild and regrow his way through into 20th. Now he's got the problem of trying to fight his way through this battle pack. You know what battle pack means? It means checkups. It means having to brake earlier. It means trying to think through your racecraft. This is where the boys will earn the big dollars tonight.
Peter, if you are Kenny Cottermoss, you're last in this group. You know you've got good speed. Are you coming in?
Well, I'm more worried about Christopher Island, Fitzroy Beaumont, Steve Bartholomew and Russ Green chasing me at the moment, I think. And just maybe he's trying to stay on the back of this pack and wait for the window, the pit window to open.
How far away do you reckon we're going to be from that number?
I'm just going to refer to the whiteboard, Stefan.
Yeah, well, look out for Christopher Island indeed. Started 4th, got himself turned around. I think he was back to about 30th. He's back to 20th already. And he's got the next 11 cars lined up bumper to bumper in front of him. I reckon he's on for a top 10 here if he can keep his nose clean from here on out and navigate this incredible battle pack. I think Jared Knight's done a good enough job coming out of turn 3 through there, Scott, to fend off Hinsey this time.
Yeah, he's definitely a lot further forward. If I'm Sebastian Flock... Whoa, here we go.
Faulkner, Yusuf, side by side. Faulkner on the inside, gets the job done.
Oh, Matt Dench! Matt Dench is in the wall!
From 2nd place, Matt Dench has fallen afoul of the grass on the outside of turn number 7 and found the concrete. Here's the replay from Super Cheap Auto.
I think he's just barely brushed the grass. That's heavy contact. I'd pit this lap. I think he's going to pit this lap. I think he's going to have a crack on the strategy. We're right on the edge of the pit lane window.
It was a 9 or 10.
Maybe he's just going extra lap. He's got a huge enough gap that he might go that extra lap.
Well, I'm just checking his steering from the cockpit cam, and it don't look pretty. There we go.
It's 100%.
Yeah, that car's not steering straight. That tank slapper, as well as the right hand down, pretty much tells that tale without us having to say anything. Will he pit? No.
The problem that he's got is this pit lane window opens in earnest next lap. If he can just survive, he's got 4.5 seconds back to Wayne Hewitt, and his problem is if he pits now, he's risking it all for the biscuit.
Yusuf's risking it for the biscuit.
Yeah, Andre thinks he can do it.
For Sheep Sim Racing, they're a very cleared up team. I wonder if they've fed Yusuf some very useful information. Oh, I just saw an enticing battle pack go past him. It's Knight and Hinds. What a shocker. Knight on the inside. Hinds with the momentum on the outside. Can he go the long way at turn 1? Oh, how was there not contact there? Fantastic driving. Knight holds on again. Hinsey's going to be blowing up.
Yeah, he's got pace in that car. And I'm starting to change my mind a little bit. I think Jared Knight might just be holding this battle pack up. If the drive can come out of look, Flock's got 2 decisions. He can sit here, he can save some fuel, or he can try and get the power down and see if he can get this done. It's a long way around at turn number 5. This is a difficult spot.
Oh, it's messy behind him. It's messy behind him. They're 3 wide. There was a car on the grass. We've got to get a replay of that at some point. That was Christopher Island scything his way past the opposition. He had 2 in the grass through that little kink that is turn 4. And in the end, he picks off both Kenny Cottermoss and Timothy Russell. That was wild. Look at this on the Super Cheap Auto replay.
Oh, his teammates running out there.
Oh, so close. That was almost disaster.
Mate, that's aggression. Look, Chris Island comes into this one and he just says, I'm going to get aggressive. it's all gone wrong. What's the harm that comes? If you get aggressive in this instance, you're already deep in the pack. You're already losing a bucket load of points. Well, I mean, he kind of had nothing to lose, so you may as well get out there and have a crack. If he sits back there, he's a little bit passive. Yeah, he's going to confirm himself a result, but it's not going to be the same result. Chris Island, I think he will be the car that does whatever everyone else doesn't do this lap. He's got pace in that pack. He can make the spots up. Jared Knight, Hins, those two will do something different. There's no way that they do exactly what the other one does. Not any chance in the world.
They've all stayed out. The top 5, including Dance with damage, have all stayed out. The first car to pit is, unsurprisingly, the one being held up the most, Thomas Hins. But keep our eye on this for now. Into turn 1, Faulkner having to cover off Mitchison. You see 3 cars in pit lane.
Was it Teo Serrano? I think it was that he wasn't at pit on the last lap. It's Andre Yusuf was the driver that actually pit on the last lap. So really got to keep an eye on where he is and where he comes out. Jason Bentz, remember, pit a long time earlier, but that was due to damage, so he's not really in it. Those are the 2 cars that have pit so far. Other than that, it's everyone coming in this time.
Oh, lively. Down into turn 5, some late changes of positioning. A little slide in the middle of the corner for the Race and Oz car of Luke Mitchison, the 04. It's got Lachlan Capel behind him, and then Adam Willison, Zach Rattray, White. Looking at lap times, Faulkner, slowest of the bunch here. As race control starts to hand out a penalty, that's to Atsushi, who's been given a black flag.
Was with car number 9, which was Ben Holiday on lap 9. Ben's actually done for the race, so that was race ending for Ben Holiday, whatever happened on lap number 9. So unfortunate for him. I mean, he was strong, he was out there, he was in contention, but you got to keep yourself alive sometime. Race control team that Atsushi was at fault, and this is
go. Holiday on the outside, Atsushi on the inside. Oh, just too hot, too deep. And Holiday sent spearing into the tyres. I don't reckon that's damaged the car, but I reckon he's had enough. As Faulkner is getting absolutely hounded as we come back to live pictures, having to cover off at the final corner. He makes a smart decision to pit, and I think we just saw that Mitchison was going to pit, decided not to when he saw his rival doing so. Ooh. Now he's under pressure. Here comes Capel. A big run. Don't think he'll clear him by turn 1. He might do. He might do. And he does. As Mitchison backs out of it, Capel sweeps through to pick up 2 quick spots.
Yeah, critically, I think this is big racecraft and big brain plays here for Lachlan Capel. Why? They both think that they're faster than Ben Faulkner. They think they've got the pace. And the thing here is, if Capel needed to take that run and he needed to push it through there. Why? He thinks he's got the pace here. If these guys work together on this lap, they both might clear Faulkner. However, if Mitchison fights, they both lose the time. Faulkner probably comes back out ahead. That's actually quite critical for both of their races. Mitchison will effectively not lose any spots if this works out. He'll stay even. Capel will be +2.
Jared Knight has just pitted a lap after Thomas Hins did just that. And I reckon Hinsey has come out ahead of him. So the undercut works for Thomas Hins. No, sorry, it doesn't. Sorry. Jared Knight stays ahead, and Thomas Hins, the frustration lives on. The undercut didn't work. Cold tyres. And the tyres would have cooled down a little bit in the pit stop, is what I mean to say there, Scott.
Yeah, even worse is I think actually Teo Serrano's actually jumped him as a part of this pit stop because that Ferrari was not there previously, so that has worked out for Teo Serrano. Who's got the pace here though? Will Serrano work with Hins? Will Hins work with Serrano? Because if Serrano can get down the inside, maybe Ferrari versus BMW might provide some different traits in the cars that may enable a little bit closer racing between Serrano and Knight that maybe Hins was capable of, may set it up for Hins.
Peter, I believe we saw Matthew Dench into pit lane that lap as well.
I haven't Dench into pit lane yet, no. So I'm sorry, we're trying to keep track of everyone else pitting.
I think he's made another mistake then. If he hasn't pitted, then he's made a mistake.
No, he definitely pitted.
He's pitted. I'm just trying to work out where it was. It was lap 11.
There you go. The rest of the field comes to pit lane. A swarm of GT3s descend on the pit lane. There's no one on the main straight. They're all getting new fuel. Who is going to emerge first? Will it be Damon Woods? You would expect so. More so, who's going to be ahead in the battle for third, fourth, fifth?
Well, Dench might actually close up a fair amount here because Woods is still not out of the booth. And
here we go.
He's rolling.
Here he is.
Dench has actually made ground back up here out of this one. So a good opportunity for Matty Dench. I actually felt Dench was quicker in the latter part of the run right before he made the mistake. He was a fraction quicker from Matthew Dench. So I was starting to feel as if he might have been fuel saving in that opening run. And then he was looking to extend the pace and the pit stop sort of feeds back into that intel. So yeah, that sort of matches up for me.
Wayne Hewitt holds third, Capel up to fourth. Bradbury's up there, but he's out of position. He hasn't pitted. And then Adam Willison, Luke Mitchison, fifth and sixth. Once
All
Bradbury
coming
makes
out of the
this
pit.
pit stop.
You remember back to Bathurst a fortnight ago, we had Mitchelson, Nicholson, Bowden was there. They were all fighting at the end of the race because they pitted early, and there was a little bit of fuel saving going on. We had Woods and Dench pushing very hard at the end of the last race because these other guys did pit a little earlier. So I can see why they've held off another lap this time. As we see Serrano's a little sideways.
Big late move from Thomas Hinds on the brakes into turn 5. He's back in 14th place. Now correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe him and Jared Knight were that far back before they pitted. They were inside the 10, weren't they?
They were inside the 10 before they pitted. So the drivers of Cooper, I think, jumped them. Oh, Fitzroy Beaumont!
He's off in the gravel, down at turn number 8, and he had assistance. Stephen Bartholomew on the inside. Did he have enough overlap? That's going to be the question posed to race control. As soon as you've got a replay, will tell us what happened.
That's a really odd one from Beaumont because he's just got no drive off at turn number 5. So it's tricky trying to get down there. You've already talked about it, Ryan, in the overtaking opportunity presented there at turn 6. It's uphill. It's a difficult braking zone. The corner's quite narrow. It's really not an overtaking opportunity unless you're significantly outside. So I don't like it.
Oh no! Hinsey off in the grass. Sideways. Can he rejoin safely? Oh yeah, just about.
Well
Good
done.
job. Fight to the gap. That was daring stuff. Yusuf on the inside just couldn't leave him enough room. Very hard to go side by side through there. And now Hinsey's under all sorts of pressure, heading up the main straight.
Yeah, it's just a bit more than 2 positions as well. Would not surprise me to see Yusuf actually hand this position back and just sort of redress it. I think he's got a penalty coming if he doesn't.
Yeah, just listening into race control in the background there. Hinsey straight onto them. As we look back forwards again to Yusuf and the man trailing him. It's Zach Rattray White up 2 spots. It's the start of the race. Had a pretty quiet race, has Zach, but he's worked his way up there and looking at 7th place now. Doing a very good job in that Lamborghini Huracan.
Yeah, definitely a Ben Faulkner who's sort of just been lurking a little bit below the waters. I think he was a little bit further up. I have a feeling he may have been 4th place or so prior to him hitting, and he wanted to cover off that undercut. It has not worked out whatsoever.
We had 21 cars pit on lap 12. We had 8 pit on lap 11, and Yusuf was in, plus a few of the other guys came in earlier after the initial contact for the first couple of laps.
So coming down to about 15 minutes left to go in this race. It's a sprint from here on out. We've run green the whole way. No safety car interventions. Touch wood. Not trying to invoke a curse there because we've got a fantastic battle on our hands. Jesse Butler cannot find a way by Teo Sereno at the moment, sorry. And Thomas Hinds, the aggressive overtaker we've seen so far in this race, will be lining up another couple of overtakes in the not too distant future. He's got Mizomo behind him, and Mizomo might fancy his chances as Hinds runs it wide coming out of the final corner just behind Jesse Butler. You can probably see it in that little virtual camera they've got inside the dash.
Yeah, and I've been watching Teo Sorono as well and Jesse Butler go head-to-head. It's been difficult the last couple of laps. These guys have actually been duking it out, so they've been having their own little battle within a battle as well, Sorono and him. So Sorono's been really looking to get those elbows out, really defend his spots, and trying to stick a little bit of his stamp inside around the top 10. Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
Matt Dench is having nearly identical behavior in his car up in P2, by the way. So the drivers, the setup is not perfect. It's a little bit on edge, and it's taking. I think this is a real high driver skill set. It's not easy for these drivers. The GT3 is normally known as a little bit of an easier car to drive, a little bit easier to manage with ABS and traction control. Yeah, not so tonight.
Yeah, well, I hear everyone loves driving the Mercedes in real life because it's the easiest of the bunch. But if that were the case, it'd probably be Mercedes up front, and it's not. It is the BMW of Damon Woods leading the way by 4.2 seconds from Matthew Dench in second in the Ferrari. Wayne Hewitt is 15 seconds adrift in third, now 16 seconds. The top two have just had an incredible amount of pace over the rest of the field when you consider how closely bunched the rest of the field is. And I feel like that damage is definitely hurting Dench at least a little bit. Scott, it cost him a gap. He would have taken that spare car in pit lane, but leaving himself with a lot to do late on in this race.
He's got pace. They're trading lap times. They're nearly identical, Woods and Dench. There's nothing in between them. Wayne Hewitt, by the way, slowest sector on the track is sector number 2. That's actually the runoff of turn 1, turn 2. All the way down to turn number 5. So that's where he's struggling in the Lamborghini compared to our leaders the most. That says that these guys are rotating the car really nicely, getting back to the power nicely. It's really odd to see that sort of margins. That nearly says as well Hewitt might have just made a huge mistake on that last lap in that section of the track. So, but yeah, they're convincing at the moment. The other thing that may be lending itself, a lot of fighting going on from third all the way back down through the field. So drivers having to fight, yeah, they're always going to fall away from the leaders.
If we remember back to round 1 at Bathurst, the last 5 minutes of the race were very exciting. So a lot of cars loose. Looks like there's a lot of warm and worn tyres, and there's a lot of pushy drivers out there trying to gain a couple of extra spots, and obviously looking for some super cheap vouchers. So yeah, the last 5 minutes of the first of round 1 exploded.
Well, Yusuf got a poor exit coming out of turn 3. Rattray White thought he was going for the overtake. He ended up getting overtaken by Ben Faulkner, who slips up on the exit of turn number 6. Luckily for him, turn 7 comes up very quickly. Rattray White can't recover the spot he lost, and Sebastian Flock enters the fray, along with Aaron Cooper.
Flock's starting to go a little bit further forward. His pace has actually been really, really supreme lately. Adam Willison as well, keep an eye on him. He's the only Porsche that's out there, and we're starting to see a lot of wiggling about. Remember Capel? We saw Capel in the opening couple laps really loose coming through the carousel. He is all the way up from 12th on the grid to 4th, and he's starting to hunt down Wayne Hewitt. I think this is a 17-year-old driver. 17-year-old driver, ladies and gentlemen, who might be in with a shout of a podium here. He's got pace, he feels good, and the 18 on the side of his car, well, that's because he's a big Kyle Busch fan, if you're a NASCAR fan. That's his favourite NASCAR driver.
My man.
There's a big battle.
Not that we play favourites, but Lachlan Capel shoots up in my book of drivers.
I've actually done some endurance racing with Capel. He's got his head screwed on. He's a real fun-loving kid. He's just got this lovely energy about him, and he's always looking to learn. So that's his biggest features.
Zach Rattray wants that position back down the main straight. Eustace trying to hold off Zach Rattray, Ben Faulkner, while Sebastian's just hanging with them. Aaron Cooper's there for the top 10. They're all battling for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
But both run wide. Here comes Flock. He actually had to check up. He was so strong coming out of turn number 1. Rattray White is going to get turned by Flock. And off into the gravel he goes. Backwards to the Qualitai Control Racing car.
Just had a sense that was brewing, didn't you, over the last couple laps? Oh, hang on. Change to third.
Lachlan Capel up into the podium places and gets his hands on a $50 Super Cheap Auto voucher for now. How did this happen? Just a great run and a good overtake down into turn number 5.
Flipped under the Sorrento truck cheese bridge.
mate. It was a good move. He set him up, got the drive. Big thing about that Mercedes, lots of torque, lots of drive off in the corners. BMW quite quick in a straight line at the tail end of the straight. Lamborghini, one of the slower cars in a straight line. That's sort of how we set that one up.
Wayne's looking very loose at the moment.
You see it from on board there, this supreme speed he had down that straight of sorts. It's not really a straight. And then late on the brakes, little slide coming out of the corner, but that is easy as it comes for Lachlan Capel off the back of some really hard work to get there. And there's the replay of Flock, just didn't get far enough up on the inside of Rattray White. It sent him spinning, and I don't think that'll be too difficult for race controllers. Oh no, Capel!
Huge moment.
Saves it. Ran up over the curve on the inside of turn number 13. Got up over the grass on the exit, was all sorts of sideways, held onto it, and somehow he's still got a decent run out of the corner onto the main straight. Mizomo is off in the gravel.
Yeah, Mez not having a great night. I've seen him fast, Mizomo, but he's just not got his wares on. He doesn't look comfortable here, so I think he was actually helped off the circuit because there was a little bit of chatter. Did he pick up the curbing a little bit too much, Capel? I don't know about that.
He did.
It's heating up for that last spot on the podium.
Yeah, so now Capel in third with that mistake has brought Hewitt back to him, and Adam Willison, Luke Mitchison, 4 cars fighting for the final spot on the podium. 19 seconds adrift of the dominant leaders, Woods and Dench. This is going to get real spicy with just about 10 minutes to go in this race. Less than that, 7 minutes.
Yeah, and the other thing, the critical thing for me is that Hewitt is starting to block. He knows that he's vulnerable. He senses it. So the tyres have gone off a little bit here for Wayne Hewitt. He had that huge burst of speed early on, pushed out and away from a bunch of these guys. He's paying the price.
And Damon Wood certainly has the control of this race. I've seen the pit stops that Matthew Dench was one of the fastest with a 1.6 quicker than Dench.
Yeah, we haven't looked at David Woods a whole lot in this race, but there's been so much action behind him, and it's looked so easy for Woods out front in the Door Esports number 56 BMW. His last lap was a 2:03.3. His times have not dropped off at all in this race, really, since lap 5.
Well, it's backing up again for third.
And this is why we can't look at Damon Woods for too long, because the action is kicking off behind them. Lachlan Capel starting to gap them ever so slightly, just because Hewitt is holding up Willison and Mitchison. And I reckon Wilson's going to see that. He's going to see Capel just off there in the distance, a few car lengths out in front. He won't want Capel to get away too far. It's just 6 minutes, 45 odd seconds left in this race. There's going to be a big move coming here on Hewitt, I suspect. Maybe down at turn 5. That setup needs to start now. Get a good exit here, and then get a real good exit from turn 4, but it's not going to work for him. Mitchison's all over him. And behind, Chris Ireland moves himself up into 13th place after being back as far as maybe 30th after his early spin. Marlon McMullen also moves up a spot to 16th.
Yeah, so Ireland obviously surging. His next target will be Thomas Hinz. Hinz has managed to get clear of that battle pack. He's gotten back in front of Teo Serrano. His next target is Jared
Mitchison. Mitchison sends one on the inside of Willison, who fights back with the crossover. Willison gets it back. Now they're scrapping for 5th.
Yeah, great racing, but have a look at what this has allowed Hewitt to do. All of a sudden, not under pressure. Look at how close to Capel he's gotten again.
Fantastic stuff. Looking at outright speed in this race, Hewitt's fastest lap was a 2:03.793. Did that on lap 2. For Capel, it's a 2:03.6. Did that on lap 14.
Wow. Capel, his non-strongest point is Canada Corner, and we saw Wayne Hewitt and Adam and also Luke catch him up there, and we're coming down the back straight now through the kink, and it'll be interesting to see if he can hold him off at Canada, because Hewitt certainly got a slipstream again.
Be interesting next time they go through the kink to go on board, see if they're still going flat out through that corner late in the race, in dirty air, pressure on. It was flat out in qualifying, but the grip will be starting to fall away from these drivers. You mentioned it being a high degradation circuit, Scott. And little mistakes creeping in, I think showing signs of that. and fatigue as well. 45 minutes into a hard-fought race, Hewitt spins all by himself.
Yeah, look, that's a trait the Lamborghini's known for is just the mid rear engine car as well. Watch the guys that just shoot through in that shot as well. Thomas Hens is starting to be caught by Chris Island, but this will tell the story. It's just a Lamborghini moment. Unsettles itself over the bump, touches the curb in the middle of the corner, and that Lamborghini, it needs to stay connected in that middle corner. The biggest strength of that car is being able to get onto the throttle and rotate the car on throttle really, really nicely, similar to sort of an open wheel car. You want to drive it through the corner a lot more, and you can't unsettle the thing mid-corner. That's just a big no-no.
He drops the right sides up over the grass on the inside of the corner, and that's what unsettled it and set the spin in motion. Back to Damon Woods, 4 minutes to go in this race, so 3 laps to go, I would say, in this race. 45 plus a lap. Cruise control for him out front. 2 minutes 3.1 last time by. Cruise control for him is still a second quicker than what we're seeing in this battle for third place. Ben Faulkner in 8th has got his hands full as well. Late on in proceedings. Sebastian Flock behind him. Aaron Cooper's just made his way past him. Cooper now up 9 spots in this race. Same as Cable has been, up in 3rd, up 9 spots too.
Yeah, where's the guy we're watching from the tail end of the field? Was that Bilson?
Yeah.
It's back into 24, so he's at a reasonable race. The thing that's let him down is actually the field spread this race. I think one of the biggest things we saw at Bathurst was how condensed the field was. So as soon as you passed a car, there was another car only just ahead of you. You weren't losing a whole bunch of momentum. That sort of let Deeth off the hook a little bit. A lot of cars he could have overtaken, and he played the strategy game really, really well. Difference here.
Oh. That might be why he's still 24th.
Oh, Riley's.
Whoa!
He went too deep, ended up out on the marbles on the exit of the corner, so when he applied the throttle, there was absolutely zero grip, and he goes for a spin. He sort of stalled out. He's been 24th since about halfway. Hasn't been able to go much further than that. You see lap times come up in the battle for P3, 4, 5, and then 7, 8, 9.
It's still on. Luke Mitchison was 3rd in the last round. He had to fight for that 3rd, so he knows what it's like to fight over the last couple of laps. Adam Wilson's still hanging in there, and Lachlan Capel's doing a great job. A little bit of breathing space, but certainly with a couple of laps to go, there's certainly opportunity for Luke to get him.
It's a big opportunity here for Capel to rescue his championship. He was 22nd in round 1. 3rd place today. It'd be a huge points haul. A 2-minute 4.17 for him last lap. A 2-minute 3.4 for Mitchison. 6-7 tenths quicker. He'll be there next lap, will Mitchison. Capel is going to have his hands full. 1:40 on the clock.
Yeah, so race leader's going to come through the kink, Damon Woods. And then down into Canada Corner. So there will be one more lap on the cards for these guys here tonight. Cable's got a whole lap and a half yet to go. He's really got to hang on to this one. Only 3 cars now in that battle pack with the mistake that came out of Hewitt on that last one. Hewitt dipped down to 15. He is still struggling with that car. There's a really good opportunity for him just to consolidate. You'll probably come home in 15th. Probably not going to gain any more spots.
The timer will run out on this lap that Woods is starting. Is it time plus a lap, or
no,
time and that's it?
That's so white flag will be displayed this time by. So even though there's a minute on the clock, at the conclusion of this lap, they will receive the checker.
All to play for on the final lap for the final spot on the podium in round 2. The Speedcafe eSeries Championship. P3 earns you $50 in vouchers for Super Cheap Auto. Will it go to Cable or Mitchison? White flag is flying from Barney in the flag stand. iRacing's favourite crowd member. And through turn 1, Cable looks good. Exit out of turn number 3, because that's turn 2 they're going through now. Yeah, it doesn't really exist, does it? Is crucial. Needs to get on the power early, get a good run. And he does. Uses a little bit of the grass. Is the slipstream big enough for Mitchison here? Is on the timing totem. We see drama for Jared Knight going down the order. He's found the wall out of turn 1.
And just another note, remember back to Bathurst, that round to go, Jared Knight's actually going to not finish the race down there, by the way, on the exit of turn 3. He's stuck there. He just cannot get that car back around. Capel was in a huge incident in the dying stages of the race, coming down through the S's over Skyline. Somebody shoved the nose in and Capel was just in the wrong place at the wrong time in the dying stages of the race. Was inside the top 10, was looking to shoot Baker points and Hewitt. Oh, another error.
Going from bad to worse for Hewitt. But out front, Taman Woods, he won round 1. He turned up tonight. He went fastest in practice. He went to pole position in qualifying with a fantastic lap on his 3rd attempt. And he has led every single lap of this race. And he is going to command victory at Road America for round 2 of the Speedcafe eSeries Championship. Damon Woods crosses the line, takes the checkered flag.
Well, Mitchelson stuck the nose at Canada, but couldn't just get there. He's left himself a little bit vulnerable to Adam Wilson. Looks like Lachlan Capel's going to hold on for 3rd spot. We're just coming around the final turn.
Oh, I was worried about the cross there. He almost spun it. He almost got too wide, but he's done well. Under pressure, Capel started 12th, fights his way up onto the podium. He finishes 3rd, and ahead of him, it's a P2 for Matthew Dench as well. A little bit quiet for him after his mid-race incident, but a well-earned podium, some phenomenal pace for him as the rest of the field crosses the line. Thomas Hinton steals the final spot in the top 10 on the final lap from the recovering Christopher Ireland. Aaron Ford gets beaten by Connor Moss to the line. They were having a little bit of a drag race up the hill. It was for 17th and 18th place.
Well, that's as in the first round. Those last 5 minutes, everyone's driving around on warm tyres, light fuel load, so the cars are twitching all over the place. We saw a few incidents again. We saw a few little mistakes, but not from Lachlan Capel, certainly not from Damon Woods and Matthew Dench. And Lachlan Capel, who finishes off the top 3, is a great job from the podium.
Yeah, there's a couple drivers late on that I was sort of keeping an eye on. Cameron Edwards had contact, I think, with Fitzroy Beaumont. Fitzroy just nudged him going into, didn't expect him to brake, I think, quite as early as he would have expected going down in the last corner. Beaumont had a mistake early on, was recovering back through the field. So that's something for race control to have a look at. There was actually another incident that was just ahead of those guys as well in the dying stages of things. So I have a feeling it might have been Mizomo actually that was caught up in it. So there was quite a few drivers late on in the piece. Hinton's never really got back there. He had pace late on in the piece. Ireland's unlucky to come in behind him, but I mean, a reasonable effort. Did all he possibly could. Jared Knight, I mean, the mistake late on, and that's as far as he went. He just could not do any more than that. That's as far as that car was going on the final lap of the race.
Results up on your screen. Winning margin in the end for Damon Woods and Door Esports, 4.7 seconds over Matthew Dench. Lachlan Capel, a hard fought 3rd place for Drop Band Motorsports ahead of Rosen-Oz and TimRegs.com DPRs, Luke Mitchelson and Adam Willison. Andre Youssef was in the action all race, it seemed, up in 6th place ahead of Aaron Cooper. Sebastian Flock, some late overtakes up to 8th. Ben Faulkner in 9th. Thomas Hinton rounding out your top 10. As the rest of the results come through on your screen, we've got 3 very happy drivers, I suspect. Let's kick things off with our race winner, Damon Woods for Door Esports. Just absolutely dominant. Damon Woods, welcome up here to the broadcast booth. Congratulations, absolute class above the field today.
I wouldn't say class above the field. I think I got quite lucky with Denchi having his moment on the exit of the sweeper there. If it wasn't for that, he definitely would have gotten in front of me. But I guess in racing, you make your own luck. And yeah, I mean, I'll take the W today.
Exactly right. Luck always plays a little part in motorsport and indeed in sim racing. But you and Dench certainly were having a fantastic battle in qualifying. And then the other stages of the race. Talk us through that fight from your perspective. What's going through your head when you've got a driver that close to you on the lap times?
I think the best way to go about it is just keeping focused on your marks and making sure you hit the same brake percentage, same throttle application every corner, and try and drive as consistent as you can and hope that the guy behind is either a little slower or eventually makes a mistake, which Matt eventually did.
It's been a dominant start to the season for you. 2 round wins in a row, and tonight you walk away with a $250 Super Chip Auto voucher as well. How good is that?
Yeah, we'll take it. Might have to give this one to Dad.
Give it to the supporters, of course. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for putting on a show. Before we let you go, who gets it done for you?
Once again, just like to thank Dory Sports, VRS, Hayward Rig, JBL, Recaro, Garmin, and finally SX Group.
Thanks very much, Damon. Congratulations once again. Hope to see you back again for round 3. And now Scott Rankin standing by with the man who came home in second place, Matthew Dench.
Dench, you were sort of watching a little bit and playing it by the numbers. You were happy to let Damon sort of push on a little bit earlier in that one, try and stretch it out to as much of the full second gap as he possibly could. And all of a sudden the response came, and I was sitting here going, last round Dench was playing it by the fuel strategy. He was trying to do exactly what his teammate in Simon Nicholson didn't do. He went on the alternate strategy. It's always best to cover that off. No Simon Nicholson out here tonight, playing it differently to the guys ahead of you. And then the moment, mate, talk us through the psychology. What was the feeling like in the car?
Yeah, the car was feeling pretty good. Just didn't want to hurt the tyres and get too much heat in them too early on, so we just sort of just chilled behind Damon there, and we broke away as a 2-car group, and yeah, just sort of tried to close up as close as I could to save a bit of extra fuel, and yeah, we just got a bit of understeer and tried to throttle through it, and we got a bit of oversteer and clipped the grass, and couldn't quite catch it quite right, and we slapped that wall pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, the tyres, obviously, we were watching a number of drivers managing the tyres just about right the way through the race here tonight. A lot of moments late on in the race. You were aware that it was going to be a huge issue quite early on in the piece. You mentioned, obviously, time management was something you wanted to do quite early on, but that track temperature, it just kept climbing, and that wear factor, it just kept coming in.
Yeah, like long as you don't overheat the tyres early, you can usually manage them pretty well. You just got to try not to brake super late, and yeah, you can usually keep it under wraps.
In terms of things, next round we're heading off to Phillip Island. The Ferrari's obviously been your car sort of to keep your eyes on and to be working through as it stands at this point in time. Are you feeling confident the Ferrari might have the legs over the BMW when we head to Phillip Island?
Yeah, sort of coming into the series, was sort of like tossing up which car to take, and I sort of thought either Ferrari or BMW would probably be the strongest overall through the whole season. So it's definitely got its tracks that it's not going to be very good at, but majority of them should be pretty good.
And finally, mate, who are sponsors that make it possible for PGZ Racing and Matty Dench?
We'll just have to give a big thanks to the whole PGZ team. Learn a lot with all of those boys, so thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matty Dench finishes out a P2 in car number 83 tonight. Matt, it's a pleasure as always to chat to you, mate. Keep on trucking, and I think Pete's got the young driver at the wheel of the 18 standing by. You over there with him, Pete?
Yeah, I'm here with Lachlan. Lachlan, we were watching you quite a lot of those last 5 minutes and the last few laps. You're having a great battle there with Luke, Adam, and with Wayne. Great move on Wayne to take third spot. How was the car at the end of the race? It looks like you were all pushing hard.
Being honest, I have to give a huge shout out to Sven Haas's company that he made recently called Grid and Go. I've switched to their sets, and oh my god, was this car a rocket ship in a straight line. I pretty much had any pace on the field in terms I got to a straight, but in the corners it was very questionable, especially to Mitchinson, who I think was running 5 or 6 wings, so a lot more than I was. So it was very difficult to try and balance out the car in the end, but I think I just had enough saved in the tank from earlier to be able to just push that little extra bit just to stop any chance of a move.
And how did you look after the car and save any fuel, or was it push 100% for the race?
Fuel wasn't really too much of an option. I tried to save maybe a tiny bit just to see if I could make sure I could jump the train I was in before the stop, but it seemed like I was the only one who took tyres, and that came to my advantage quite well.
Well, you stopped with about 20 other cars on lap 12, so well done to get back up there. I see you started just out of the top 10, so it's very good to be P3 there. Did it look like you were a little deep about 3 laps from the end into Canada corner, which choked everyone up a little bit?
Yeah, I did get a little bit deep quite a few times. It's just the car just starts to kind of fall away at the end, but you kind of got to do what you got to do, sort of park the bus type idea at the end. I know a lot of top guys do it, and you got to start to learn how to actually put your car in a good spot where no matter what you do, the people can't pass. So probably a bit strategic sometimes if I maybe overslowed for a couple of corners just because I needed to get this car slowed down. It was a bit deep, but in the end, you know, it was good racing with everyone, and I'm glad I was able to walk up because this car was not very competitive, it doesn't seem like at the start, but happy with the ending.
Yeah, mate, you did really well. You've to finishing P3. Luke was very close, and so was Adam at the end there. No, well done, mate. Who else would you like to thank for tonight?
I'd like to give a really, really big shout out to the guys over at Evolution Racing Team. Only just this week I've moved on from Drop Bear and come and join them, and I'm very excited to continue in the future and very happy that this is the first of many good starts I've had with the team, and hopefully we continue getting these sorts of results in the future.
Yeah, mate, solid mature drive. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And before we let you go, Lockie, thoughts on Kyle Busch's move this year, moving teams, and how he's doing so far in the championship in NASCAR?
Yeah, I was quite happy when he needed to get away from JDR. I think it was just letting him down a bit, but happy that he's doing well at the start of the season, and he could become a championship contender come final round at Phoenix.
That right there, ladies and gentlemen, that's one of the reasons why I'm a Kyle Busch fan. Capel started me on the Busch train, so yeah, there you go.
All right, boys, good stuff. Great job. Our top 3 finishers in round 2 of the Speedcafe eSeries Championship. Between them, walking away with $400 in Super Cheap Auto vouchers. Without any of these sponsors, though, it is not possible. Some fantastic supporters of this championship and of Speedcafe: Truck Assist, Morris Finance, Pertec, RJ Batteries, Mobile One, Michelin Tire Plus, Super Cheap Auto, King Chrome, KTM, Maguire's, Optus, and Lloyd's Classic Car Auctions. Next up for the series, we head to Phillip Island, round 3 of the championship on April 28. Pre-qualifying is April 21 to 26, and I'd say, Scott, going to be quite a different style of racing to what we saw tonight.
Yeah, Phillip Island presents a lot of overtaking opportunities. The benefit, obviously, I mean, if you're an Australian sim racer, anytime there's an Australian track on services such as he's going to do a ton of laps around here. So the 3 tracks, though, really had earmarked for a lot of laps in and a lot of track knowledge from a lot of the drivers. Really a condensed field as well. Phillip Island's another one of those. Don't forget, ladies and gents, jump on speedcafe.com, home of the biggest independent racing news outlet in Australia. And I'll tell you what, that's going to be where you register for the next round and get yourself in pre-qualifying. For those that didn't make the main game, remember 40 drivers qualify their way in, 10 of the top drivers so far in the point standings, and then the next best 30. Everyone else still gets to go racing here. There's a sub server for everyone outside of that top 40 so that you can still go racing on a Friday night and enjoy some Speedcafe GT3 action. And the island, look, some guys who are stocks are rising. Obviously, Matt Dench, we saw Damon Woods, both strong finishers, race 1, race 2. But I've really got my eye on Capel, and there's a couple guys throughout that mid-pack that have just put down some really nice markers. Capel had a lot of bad luck in round number 1. Wrong place, wrong time. Kobe Deet was another one that had a lot of bad luck. Couldn't make the race here tonight. Could Phillip Island be the turning point in the championship for a couple of these guys?
Who knows? We'll find out on April 28. If you want to get involved, do what Scott said. Head over to speedcafe.com and register. There's still 8 rounds left in the championship. Plenty of racing to be had. Plenty of action to be seen right here on Speedcafe TV. Thank you to everyone who joined us over the course of the evening on Facebook, YouTube, or via the Speedcafe website. We hope to see you again in 2 weeks' time But for now, from myself, Ryan Jones, Scott Rankin, Peter Davison, and Luke behind the cameras, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.